Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. On this episode, Vincent LaRussa and I talk through the new forthcoming Ace Frehley album, Origins Volume 2, and we go through track by track and let you guys know what our thoughts are on each and every one of them. As is always the case with reviews, remember this is only two people's opinions, and you're entitled to your own, and all opinions are valid. I will say this though, certainly you're going to want to go out and purchase this album as soon as it's released. I think it's well worth the money. If you're watching this show on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. Now, without further ado, let's get started with our review of Ace Frehley's newest album, Origins Volume 2. Alright, hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. I am excited to have with me yet again my good buddy, my partner in crime, Mr. Vincent LaRussa. How you doing on this fine Sunday morning?
I'm doing well, but what is the crime they're actually committing?
I maybe just recording these episodes, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's just friends for 45 years, you know. A lot of things we've done together over the years. So you're my partner in crime.
Some of them that could probably be considered crimes. Some of the things we did when we were younger, but we won't go into those.
Exactly.
We'll save that for a special podcast.
Yeah, that's maybe it'll be like the 200th episode or something like that. All the stupid things we did as kids.
Yeah.
And how it related to music. There you go. So, all right. But we're here today to talk about the new Ace Frehley album, Origins Volume 2. Right. So we were fortunate enough to get a little sneak preview of the album. And I thank you to E1 for giving that to us. And I appreciated that. And, you know, I guess I'm going to start. We did a review of Space Truckin' a couple of weeks ago, the first single that came out. And during that, I had said that I'm not a huge fan of cover albums. So I just want to start there, right? And I know when he did Origins Volume 1, which I see strategically placed over your shoulder over there, I wasn't the hugest fan of that. And even his last album, Spaceman, I was not a huge fan of that album as well. So I'll say for myself, I came into this with somewhat low expectations. I'm so happy Ace is putting out new product on a regular basis, but I didn't necessarily expect it to be an A+ album. So that was my going in thoughts. And what about you, Vin? I know obviously you're a longtime Kiss fan. We both love Ace. What were your thoughts before you even listened to the album? What kind of expectations did you have?
Well, I'm of the same opinion as yourself. I'm not a huge fan of cover records. I just always feel like the bar is always set so high. So for artists to try to, do their own rendition, I kind of like when they do a cover song, but they make it their own, change the arrangement. I just find that more interesting because I feel like you're not comparing it as much to the original because the arrangement's going to be different. You might be using different instruments or, something that's really heavy, maybe do like an acoustic version. I kind of much rather hear something like that. I kind of felt the same way. I mean, it's great that Ace keeps putting out products. It seems like every 2 years he's putting something out. But I was like, all right, it'll be cool just to hear, first of all, what the track list and then like how he interprets the songs. So that's kind of how I thought about it. But it wasn't something I was very excited about.
Right.
I'd rather have a newer album with new material that I've never heard before.
Agreed.
And then maybe one song on there that's a cover song. Like when he did, what do you do? The Steve Miller tune.
The Joker.
The Joker. Yeah, like something like that,
Right. And Ace has made a good career out of doing things like that, whether it was Do Ya, even Into the Night was a cover tune, obviously in Kiss, 2000 Man, and, so there was definitely cover tunes that Ace has done and done very well in his career.
Yeah.
But, let's just think about this. 2002, Ace Frehley leaves Kiss for the second time. If I would have told you at that point that Ace would be releasing more product than Kiss over the next 18 years, we probably both would have laughed and said, no way, Ace is too lazy, etc. So, with that in mind, I'm happy that he's putting out product, like you said, every 2 years. I think it's good. And, we're setting this up as if I'm going to be saying like, I absolutely hated this, and I didn't at all, so I went in not expecting much, and I'll say as an overall thing, I was surprised that I enjoyed it much more than I did, even comparing it just to Origins Volume 1. Because Origins Volume 1 I have not listened to in a couple of years. I like the one song with Paul Stanley. Besides that, it served no purpose for me. So I haven't listened to that at all. This one, there was a few songs on here, and I was like, hey, yeah, this is good. I almost feel like if he would have taken the both volumes and made it one album, he might have had one decent cover album. Again, it's still all to your point, it's cover tunes. And when you're covering Zeppelin, the Beatles, Stones, Cream, that's tough to top those originals. But let's jump in. Let's talk about some of the songs. So I guess the first song right off the top is a Zeppelin song, right? So what'd you think of that one?
Well, first, let me just say that I thought it was a killer track list. I thought it was much better than the first album. It wasn't one song for me personally. When I looked at it, I was like, ugh. You know, like from the last record when they did Wild Thing, I think I remember I even said, I was like, oh, enough with the Wild Thing. It's like, I mean, Sam Kinison covered it, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? But, which I might have liked that version better. But anyways, just kidding.
No, hey, that's all good.
But yeah, let's start with the first track. Good Times, Bad Times. Yeah, I enjoyed this track. And let me just say from the onset of my opinion on the whole production, because this covers every song. So I feel like I got to say that at the top of this. To me, you know, and I know I've had conversation with you privately about modern day production and everything's Pro Tools and this.
Right.
And
not just the Ace album, just in general.
In general, I've had that feeling about Monster, but even when I went back and listened to Monster a little bit, I was like, I don't feel so harsh about it like I originally did. You know, with that whole brick walling and volume. But there's something about this record that sounds very kind of artificial to me. And and one of the things is the drum sound. Now, knowing that Matt Starr played on this, and this isn't trying to do any sort of self-promotion for myself, but having worked with Matt on a tune recently, which people should be very highly encouraged to do so. Matt does a great job, and just working with the man he's, you know, the consummate professional. When he submitted the tracks to me, and if you go to his Facebook page, you could see him recording in the studio. The sounds were very natural, you know, and I had every one of his tracks, kick drums, snares, cymbals. And all I hear on this record, which sounds like to me, and I don't know this for fact, it's like trigger drums. It just sounds very, very, even though they're using real drum sounds, it just sounds very mechanical and very stiff to me, to my ears. And I've done a lot of recording over the years.
Right.
And
that,
you know,
that's interesting. Let me just pause you, though, just
Yeah.
interject. So I agreed with you, as most Kiss fans did, about Monster. The whole brick wall and the sound on that album, it needed a different producer. I have to say, I don't hear what you're hearing right now. And I listened to the album, the new Ace album, a couple of times. I thought the production sounded good. I thought the guitars were clear, the bass was clear, the drums was clear. I don't personally hear what you're talking. So I'm not saying you're wrong. You're probably spot on because you produce music, you record music. I don't. But I think for this one, at least to my ears, for the average listener, they're not going to listen to this and think of Monster. Just my opinion. I'm very interested to hear that you had that opinion listening to this.
So rather than do that, pick up this record and listen to Love Gun, or listen to Dynasty, or listen to Rock and Roll Over. Listen to Rock and Roll Over or Love Gun. You know, two albums that were produced by Eddie Kramer.
Right.
And what you're going to hear is the difference between digital and analog. You know, there's a certain thing, and some people are not going to even care about this. And I'll be the first one to say, listen, this is something I have a problem with.
Right.
For the average listener, they're going to be like, what is he talking about? But, you know, I'm going to give my honest opinion on the recording and the production and sound. Right. I just feel like, you know, one of the things about Peter Criss is that if you listen to a song like Hard Luck Woman, you could hear at certain times where he's a little bit out of time with the drums. It's like, you know, back then people weren't recording as much to click tracks. This sounds very much like on the grid is what they say. It's like when you record a drum track, like when I listened to Matt's track, when he sent it to me, I'm able to put the click on. And I can hear points where he's a little bit ahead or a little bit, you know, back. And that's what that natural feel is, what I like, you know. But when everything is so stiff and on the grid, to me, it gives that too perfect sound. And that's what it sounds like to me. I don't have a problem with the guitar sound. I don't have a problem with the vocal sound, nor do I have a problem with the bass sound. To your point, it's just the drums sound, and it just sounds too perfect to me, and it pretty much carries throughout the song. And this has nothing against Matt.
Right.
You're
talking about the production, not the performance.
Production, whoever's the engineer, and this is definitely done in some sort of Pro Tools. Willing to bet that, and that right when I start listening becomes a problem that I gotta try my best to get past that and say, all right, let me just listen to the tune. But part of it, I'm like hearing all these parts, and it's just hard for me to get past. So.
Right. Now, let me ask you one thing. So for the layman like myself, when you talk about Peter Criss being off in Hard Luck Woman or something like that, you're talking about a millisecond or something like that. You're not talking about where he's really off significantly, because I've never heard that in Hard Luck Woman. I think right now people watching this are going to say, is Vincent losing his mind today?
I will, if you like, I'll tell you at what part in the song. Yeah. And I guarantee once I show it to you, you're going to be like, wow, I've never realized it, but now I'm going to hear this for the rest of my life.
Okay, go ahead. This has nothing to do with the Ace album, but enlighten me.
What we'll do is, because in the comments or whatever, I'll put in there, say, go to whatever 2 minutes and 50 seconds in or whatever, and there's different things like that. But again, I there's a certain charm in that. I think the guitar player in the Black Rose, I don't know if his name is Steve Gorman. I think his name is Steve Gorman, or one of the brothers, whatever.
Okay.
Chris Robinson. Chris Robinson, not Gorman. I think Gorman was the other guitar player. Chris Robinson, I read an interview in the last couple of years, and he was talking about this, and he was saying about recordings, and he loves the fact that there's these subtle movements in sound where not everything is kind of perfect and perfected, and I'm not a fan of auto tuning and the vocals and getting everything to perfectly match. There was an instance when I had heard "I Want You Back" by the Jackson Fives, and there's one part where he goes "ooh ooh baby," and he's a little sharp, and I heard they fixed it, and I was like, the kid was 6 years old. Right, Why after all these years you're fixing it? Leave. That was the charm, and leave. You know what I mean? It's in a world where in recording where they perfected it. Now most often when I hear the old version, but I was just like, it was that kind of attitude. It's like, that was what it was. And so here's my long-winded intro to Good Times, Bad Times, which you asked me about. I really did like the version. I thought
after all of that, you liked the version. That's pretty funny.
Because what I liked about the version is I thought it matched Ace's guitar style, and we all know that as soon as you hear Ace solo, it's like you hear his bag of tricks. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you hear his go-to moves, which is great. I mean, that's what makes Ace Ace. And most guitar players have that, We all know that Ace was, or if you didn't know, he was very influenced by Jimmy Page, one of his heroes. So I thought this was a great choice. It's a great song, the kick drum parts, the little triplet parts that Matt did were great. I immediately went to hear that in the verses, like put them in there. So yeah, I like the version. I thought it was
me too. I thought it was a solid start to the album. I was actually nervous when I saw that this is a song that, how is he going to be able to do Robert Plant, and is this going to sound good? I like the vocal. I like you mentioned the guitars. I think he put some great solos in here. When we did our Space Truckin' review, I said that was the one thing I didn't like about that song was when Ace played like 10,000 of his different tricks, and I felt, to your point, he brought out his bag of tricks, but it was done for me in a tasteful way. I actually really like this. This is, I'll say, one of my 2 or 3 favorite songs on the album. I think he did a great job on this one.
Agreed.
Yeah. So then let's move to the next one. It's a Mountain cover, Never in My Life. I'll be honest, I did not know this song beforehand. I did go back, listen to the original. I'll start off on saying that, to me, I think I just said Good Times, Bad Times is one of my 3 favorite songs maybe on the album. I think this is hands down my favorite on the album. I think Ace really, for me, it felt like an Ace song. And it goes to the point that you were mentioning earlier. When you do cover album, I like to feel like I'm not listening to Ace doing a Rolling Stones song, or Ace doing a Beatles song, or whatever. I want to hear Ace doing a song that sounds like it's Ace. And this, to me, I know it's a Mountain song, but it sounded to me like, this could be an Ace song. I like this one a lot. Great guitar playing again. I like his vocal. To me, the album started with a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very interesting with this song because this was a song about a couple of years ago that I chose for a cover band,
Okay.
and people like I said I want to do a mountain song. They're like Mississippi Queen. I'm like, of course everybody says
Right,
Mississippi
of
Queen. I was
course.
like, no, never in my life. And the guitar player at the time said, oh yeah, and the
Hmm.
rest of the band was like, we don't know what song is that.
Hmm. Hmm.
As soon as they heard it, they were like, this song kicks ass.
Right, right, right.
And so when I saw that, I was like, whoa,
Uh-huh.
okay. I got
Uh-huh.
excited about that because, again, for my own selfish,
Right.
there was a song that I chose that I thought that people would hear it live and might not know who it was, but I thought it was such a great song that they would just be won over by it as long as we
Hmm.
played it well.
Right.
All right.
Hmm.
So, and again, that Leslie West style guitar
Hmm.
playing. Leslie West is like one of the most underrated guitar players of that time. He really
Hmm.
one of the pioneers who doesn't get credited as much as he should.
Hmm.
You got to take yourself back to that time and who were, you had Clapton, you had Page, you had Hendrix,
Hmm.
who were the monster real, hard rock guitar
Right.
players. And he was one of them. And, yeah, I just feel like he was never really credited, to really pushing that genre along and
Hmm.
inspiring guitar players. And
Right.
obviously Ace took recognition of that and probably did back then and still does today by obviously putting it on
Right.
this record. So
Right.
great choice.
Right.
As
So
you said, great 1-2 punch.
right. So
Absolutely.
I think we both loved the start of the album. And then the next song up was Space Truckin', which we've already done a previous review, so we won't go too detailed here. If anybody
Right.
wants to hear a detailed review of that, go check out the other episode we did specifically on Space Truckin'. But I think, when we spoke that day, both of us were happy with Space Truckin' as well. We thought that was a great
Yeah.
cover. We thought it sounded good, right? So to me, the album, if I was going to summarize it, the first three songs out of the gate, I'm like, yeah, good, good, good. And right off the top, I'm like, this is much better than Origins Volume 1 because I've
Yeah.
got three good songs right off the top, right?
Yeah. 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 Great 1-2-3 punch. Okay. So we got
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
1-2
yeah.
punch. Yeah. No, it's, again, I think Ace really, hit it right,
Mm-hmm.
and choosing these songs. I know we haven't gone through them all, but
Mm-hmm.
just look at this list. It's just an incredible list. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
move
Right. So,
forward, my friend.
so then it took us to the fourth song, and I had a feeling when I'm listening to this, because I think I listened to it before you did. I said, all right, I know Vincent for 45 years. This is where it's going to take a turn for Vin because
I'm glad you
for,
finally didn't say 40 again. You finally got it corrected.
finally you've corrected me enough during these episodes. I'll eventually get it right.
Yeah.
But I had a feeling as I'm listening to this, I said, I know Vin's a huge Beatles fan. I like the Beatles. I don't love the Beatles, but I like the Beatles. But I said, Vin's going to have a problem with this one. I just know it. So am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, it's just something. It's kind of like, and I'm not saying it was bad. It's just something about like when Ace comes in singing, because we
Uh-huh.
all know about Ace's voice,
Hmm.
And it's not like they did the harmonies in there. And what is it? John Five is featured on that. I don't know
Yep.
if he's
Hmm.
featured as a vocalist on it or
No,
is he
no,
featured as a
just
guitar
playing
player.
guitar. Just playing
Okay,
guitar.
so, I mean, it did an admirable job and doing all the vocals and stuff like that, but it just did not do it for me. I don't know. Just Ace doing a Beatles tune like that, it
Hmm.
just. I don't know. It just seems too like I don't even know if artificial's the word. I don't know
Hmm.
what it is. It
Hmm.
just to you had sent me. There was like I don't know what you said. You said there was I listened to the first five songs as one tune
Hmm.
that I didn't and as soon as I heard this, I was like, oh, this has got to be it. And
Hmm.
again, I know you're not a big Beatles fan,
Hmm.
but it's that as you would say that
Right.
as we like to
Yeah.
say.
And
Yeah.
this one for me was not my bleh moment, but I agree with you 100%. I think Ace's, so I'll say this, I love the music on this, right? I love the trading guitar solos between him and John Five. The whole
Yeah.
ending, they kind of rock it out, going back and forth doing guitar solos. I think that's all great. For me, I didn't think Ace's voice fit this song personally, for me. In fact, I'll say this, later on the album, he had Robin Zander on the album doing, what was it, 30 Days in the Hole.
30 Days in Hell. Yeah.
I kind of said to myself afterwards, I kind of wish he'd let Robin get a shot at this song. This might have been much better with Robin's voice over Ace's. I just didn't think this song fit Ace's voice myself. Then he starts throwing in a couple of F-bombs in the middle, and I'm just like, there's just something about this just
Yeah.
feels, I think you used
Yeah.
the word artificial. It feels
Yeah.
too forced. But musically, it's like take Ace's voice out and put somebody else's in there and get rid of those needless F-bombs to me.
Yeah.
And I think I would have really liked it because musically, I love what he did with it, but just I couldn't get past that vocal track for whatever reason on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned, maybe doing Robin on. I would have
Mm-hmm.
preferred Batman on on the vocal track. Doing that, so take your pick. Michael Keaton,
Okay.
it doesn't matter. George Clooney, I don't know. Anyone, the Batman. Who's the
Adam
original
West.
one?
Adam West first.
Adam West. Adam East.
Adam East.
Anyways, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. And I got to be honest with you, what you just said about trading. That I listened to like the first verse. How can you laugh?
Mm-hmm.
Off next, I went right to it. I could not get
You
past
couldn't get past it. Okay, fair enough.
that's how much, and I kind of feel bad because I want to hear all those other things you spoke of, but it was again, maybe just because I love the Beatles so much, and just like the Ace's voice is just, it's not that he's a bad voice. He just has a certain style. We all know that Ace is limited of his as a vocalist, but that's his signature sound. It's just like Tom Petty, doesn't sing like like a Robin Zander, or Paul Stanley or whatever, or it's just like they're limited. They have their sound, but I just didn't feel like it matched up well.
Agreed. Now, just out of curiosity, I don't know how much you remember it, but what did you think of the Aerosmith version of "I'm Down"? Right, I think it was on Permanent Vacations. You remember that version at all?
I haven't listened to it in like forever.
No pun intended there. I see what you did.
Yeah.
No, because for me, that's the thing also, is I do remember very well the Aerosmith version. I thought Aerosmith did a great version. In fact, Aerosmith covered a couple of Beatles tunes. And
I remember Come Together, and then that was a great version.
Right, and then that's my point. To me, Aerosmith covered the Beatles right. And as I'm listening to this, of course, you're thinking the Beatles version. I'm also thinking the Aerosmith version. I'm like, well, if I'm listening to a cover, I'm going to the Aerosmith version over this. So, hey, musically I loved it, but his voice just for the song wasn't good. So we get to the next song then. It's another classic, the Rolling Stones song, Jumpin' Jack Flash. I'll let you start here. What'd you think?
I mean, no offense. I'm just not a huge fan of Lita Ford. I think I've said that in the last couple of years. I mean, I think she's, I think she's talented. Okay. I think she's a good guitar player. I would have probably preferred like Joan Jett. I was thinking about some other female. He used Lita on the last record. I did not like that Wild Thing at all. So not that she did a bad job on it. It was okay. I was just like, and I would have liked to have heard maybe bring in another female vocalist. I think, Joan Jett would have been a great choice. And again, who knows if you could have the ability to get someone like Joan on it. I also, at the end of this tune, I think he was throwing some F-bombs, or he says something at the end. I'm like, why was that even put in there? I don't get it. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah. Was it in this tune at the end?
Yeah, it is.
Something was said.
Yeah, and I think it's
fade or something like that. Yeah.
And I think during that, it's a line from another artist sign. It might be like MC5 or something like that. So it was supposed to be a tip of the cap to that. I thought it was needless. I'll say the one thing I liked about this is what they tried to do. Well, they did do it. Like you said, Lita sings the song. And then during, I guess the chorus, but it's all right, that part, Ace comes in and sings that, and then goes back to Lita. I liked that idea, but something like you said just falls flat to me. I was like, another song with Lita Ford. All right, I don't feel the way you do about Lita. I like Lita, but I'm like, I kind of heard this on the last album. I like this better than Wild Thing. You were talking before about song selection. Yeah, this is a much better song selection than Wild Thing.
Yeah, and let me just say, it's not like I didn't like this, there was just certain things about it that bothered me. But
I just don't
see the arrangement was good.
Yeah,
and the sound was good, and like you said, the vocal, the going back and forth in the chorus was a cool idea.
Yeah, I just don't know if I would ever say, gee, I want to hear Jumpin' Jack Flash, and I'm not going to put on the Rolling Stones. I'm going to put on the Ace Frehley version. I just don't see that ever happening.
Yeah.
Whereas when he covered 2000 Man, a Rolling Stones song, I'll listen to Ace's version 1,000 times before I listen to the Rolling Stones version. Not in this case, for me.
Yeah, right.
Not for me. So the next one then was a Cream song, Politician. So I'll say this. This is my moment. I just don't like this song, period. I don't even think it has to do with Ace covering it. I was just like, when he chose this song, I'm like, really? Really? I don't like the song. Forget even Ace's version. I just don't like the song. I didn't like the way they faded out at the end. There's all the soloing going on with him and John 5, then the song fades. I'm like, well, I'm finally enjoying it. Now you're fading it out on me. So this was my this is the first one I was like, nah, don't like this one at all. At least the last two, musically, there were things I liked. This one just, you know my word, was boring. I did not like this. Never listen to that again.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Again, I love Cream. This is probably not one of my favorite Cream tunes to go into it. To your point, I think the Cream version is much better than this. I mean, if you've never listened to it, I think you should at least give that a shot. Not saying to you, but people in general. I get the feeling this might be one tune that, out of all these, that I think a couple of these, this and maybe the Humble Pie tune, that people probably like. I've never really heard this song, you know. But yeah, again, I kind of agree with everything you're saying here. I was like, I felt very lukewarm about it.
This one I'll probably honestly never listen to. Some of the other ones, especially the first three songs, I'll gladly listen to. This one, bye. Don't need to hear it again, you know? So then let's move to the next one. Lola by the Kinks. So this is, I found it to be a very interesting choice. I was very taken back that he chose this. This is a song, I'll be honest, growing up, I've never been a huge fan of this song. There's something about it, there was like a little cheesiness to it that just never grabbed me, which is funny because I don't mind cheese, I don't mind pop music, but something about this original version never grabbed me. Are you a fan of the song, just in general?
Again, not a huge fan, but what I think kind of bugged me about this tune when I listened to it is the way he was enunciating the Lola so much, like like Lola. You know what I mean? I was just like, I just thought it was a little bit too much trying to sound like, you know, what's his name? Dave Davies? Or I know his last name's Davies. Is Dave Rick, John, Luke, Lando?
I was gonna say, why don't you just name every other person from Star Wars? But point taken.
Darth Davies, I think his name was.
Yeah, okay, Darth Davies. Okay, so, but what do you think of the? So, it sounds like then you weren't a huge fan because you didn't.
I just wasn't a huge fan of that.
I will say this: I did like. Now, there's a female voice that comes in and sings with him, and I found out it's actually his girlfriend. And you know, at first I was like, oh, his girlfriend's going to be on the album, and here it goes again, you know. But I actually liked her voice. In fact, I kind of almost wish she sang this song over Ace, you know.
Interesting,
I actually liked her voice, and I think she's on Good Times, Bad Times a little bit also, but not as pronounced. But this one, you really hear her voice, and I actually liked her voice. I thought she added a lot to the song. For me, it was my favorite part of the song, to be honest.
Yeah. I just felt like maybe Ace was trying a little bit too hard on those verses to try to sound British or whatever, you know. And just like, I mean, you want to do a little taste of it, but I thought you just put too much seasoning. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Put a little salt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Not put the pepper and the paprika, the Mrs. Dash, and you know the oregano. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So that was just the thing that had but arrangement wise, you know. I'm not like I liked all those parts. It was cool, you know, and but yeah. So
all right. So then let's move to the next track.
I feel the same about that one.
Yeah, I think so. So you know, the next one was 30 Days in the Hole. This is where Robin Zander now comes in. I'll say for me, you know, we had the Lita 4 track, the Jumpin' Jack Flash. I was happy to get another track at this point without Ace singing. It's one of the things I've realized is I love Ace singing some songs on Kiss albums. I certainly love his solo stuff, but I've loved when he's had other people singing on his albums with him, because I've come to realize sometimes too much Ace vocally is not necessarily what my ears want to hear, you know? And
that's why I loved Frehley's comment.
Absolutely. Me too, because there was that nice blend between him and Todd, or, you know, him and Richie, you know. So, you know, I was starting to tire a little bit on hearing Ace's voice at this point. So the fact that now we had Robin Zander coming in, I was like, all right, good. This is what I wanted to hear. I actually knew this song. I know you said a lot of people wouldn't know this song. I actually did know this song. I'll be honest, I learned it in the late 80s, early 90s when Mr. Big covered the tune. And I liked their version, so I'd gone back at that point and listened to the original. And, you know, I thought this was good. I thought Robin did a good job on this. I liked it. I honestly, in terms of covers, I couldn't decide, did I like Mr. Big's cover better than Ace's or vice versa. I thought, you know, after a couple of duds on the album, Politician, again, I didn't like Lola because I don't like the song. I was like, all right, good. We're back on track with a song that at least I enjoyed. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I didn't pay attention at this point. I was just listening to the promo, who actually sang the vocals. So as soon as I heard it, as soon as I saw it was a Humble Pie song, I said, well, this could be interesting. Because I know, like, Steve Marriott was, again, talk about like an underrated vocalist. And for those people who never listened to Humble Pie, listen to those early Humble Pie. Listen to the Humble Pie live at the Fillmore record. Incredible. Unbelievable. I mean, you talk about a band, and for those people who don't know, Peter Frampton was actually in Humble Pie early on. I think up until maybe 73 or 74. So you had this dual guitar then, man, it's just incredible. I know even like Paul Stanley has said that like Humble Pie was one of his influences, and just a band that just never kind of hit it really huge as maybe they should have, but they deserve it. So when I first heard the vocals, I'm like, who is this? I didn't know it was Robin Zander just by just hearing the voice, which was kind of fun because now I'm puzzled. I'm like, I was actually enjoying not knowing who it was.
Right. Interesting.
And I was enjoying that it wasn't Ace because, again, it's a hard tune, you know?
Right.
And then when I went and went, that's right. I remember Robin was supposed to be on this record. And so I thought it was a great choice. And again, just goes to, and I've heard this recently, and I have some friends that are big Cheap Trick fans, and to say, like, Robin Zander still has it, man. And he does. I mean, let's just listen to that vocal. It's a great vocal, great choice. And I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was, again, a good song for Ace to pick in the sense of what his guitar style is like. Again, I thought it was like another perfect choice. He did make some, you know, like, it would be interesting if, you know, I was just thinking about, like, imagine Ace really doing a cover of Jump.
That would be interesting.
You know? Yeah. It's tough, you know, like.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, and I can't imagine that.
Doing a finger tapping guitar solo.
Right. That's right.
Please, just for me, just for me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
now thinking of all the other Van Halen songs they're doing opera teacher.
I don't see Ace doing those songs. That's pretty funny. But So, all right. So I think we both like then 30 Days in the Hole. It sounds like we both pretty much enjoyed that one. So let's go to the next track. For me was the one I'll say I was somewhat looking forward to the most, right? Manic Depression, Jimi Hendrix song, but it includes Bruce Kulick. So I'm like, this is pretty cool. We're now bringing in two different eras of Kiss. We got Bruce Kulick, Ace Frehley on one song together. This will be cool. So before I make my comments, I'll ask you, what did you think about it?
I really paid attention to the drum track because it's got such a really cool.
So you got Ace Frehley and Bruce Kulick, and you're paying attention to the drums.
Well, it's just
spoken like a true drummer.
Well, I'm gonna, you know, but Mitch Mitchell, who really came from like a jazz background, if you listen to the drum pattern, first of all, it's in 3/4 time. 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Where songs is, you know, 4/4 time. 1, 3.
Right.
2, 3, 4. So I love odd time.
Right.
And Mitch Mitchell having that jazz kind of background kind of came up with this drum feel, you know, and so I wanted to see how Matt did it, and I thought Matt kind of did it kind of his own, like, I don't think he did it exact, which is cool, you know. And this is another song that I've played live, and it's just such an incredible drum part to play. And I know you asked me about the song, and I'm going over the drum, but it's my opinion of what
yes, of course. Of course. So a song with Ace Frehley and Bruce Kulick, you listen to the drums. I got
it. So that being said, you know, once it came in, you know, Ace singing again. Jimi Hendrix, not one of the great vocalists of all time, but just definitely had a very unique sound about him. Again, I thought it was a good choice for Ace to sing a Hendrix tune. And correct me if I'm wrong, but has he covered a Hendrix tune in the past? I feel like there was something he did once, but maybe
on Origins Volume 1. Again, I haven't listened to that in a couple of years, so there might have been a Hendrix tune on there. I think there was, actually.
Yeah, Spanish Castle Magic.
Right. So again, it goes to song selection. I think this is a better song selection on this album than the previous one to me that Ace covered. So
yeah. Although I do like when an artist picks like the odd song. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like the fact that not that Never in My Life wasn't a popular tune, but again, he didn't do Mississippi Queen.
Right.
You know what I mean? I do like it.
Absolutely.
But so my one thing that I was wondering about was does Bruce do the entire solo in that middle part? Because I was listening to it saying,
I believe he does.
Yeah.
I believe
so.
He does.
That was one of the things that I was like, okay, I think that's the whole. Like I'm listening to it, I'm like, yeah, that sounds like Bruce. Yeah, that still sounds like Bruce. Yeah, I think it's still Bruce. Yeah, and then he did a couple of like signature Bruce licks in there.
Right.
It took me back to like the '80s, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool to have Bruce and just to have two guys who would never think would work with each other, not because they hate each other, because we never heard anything, but you just think that
Right. Right. Yeah. To me, I liked it. I thought they both did great guitar parts on the song. But it goes back to your comment before. When you're going to do a cover tune, sometimes it's good to a little bit make it your own. And I felt like in this particular case, I was listening to a Jimi Hendrix song sung by Ace Frehley. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a Jimi Hendrix song, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But I just felt like it was, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was Aceified enough, if that's a word that I could use here. So I did like it, but it didn't grab me like the way the first three songs on the album did. I was enjoying it, but I was like, it still didn't grab me the way the beginning of the album did, at least for me.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I really didn't have I wasn't overwhelmed by it, I'll be honest with you. It's good. Nothing about it really bothered me, Right.
But, there's a ringing endorsement. Nothing bothered me about that song.
I know I set this up that like as if I was gonna hate the record, and I don't hate. There's just elements of production that I don't like.
Right.
Let me just be clear again. It's not about a lot of the performances I think are excellent on it.
Right. So, he was the production. So all right. So let's get to the next song then. Kicks by Paul Revere. Right. So this is another song. I'll be honest, I did not know. And the Raiders. That's right.
Yeah,
but they left the Lost Ark at home. So
and Los Angeles. The Raiders they don't play in Los Angeles anymore.
I think they're Oakland now. I don't know, but I can't keep up. They move like every 2 years, I feel like. But this is a song honestly I didn't know before I heard Ace's version. So I listened to Ace's version, then I went back and listened to the original a couple of times, and I'll say that the more I listened to Ace's version of this, the more I actually liked it. And this is one now where the original song didn't have a guitar solo in it, and Ace put in a breakdown with a solo in it, and it's actually potentially that 30 seconds on it was my favorite part of the entire album. I really like what he added to the song. The more I listen to this, the more I was like, hey, I'm digging this. This is not necessarily the type. When I listen to the original, I'm like, ooh, this is not what I would have necessarily thought Ace would be covering. And it was a little bit sounding different. I don't mean production wise. I just mean it wasn't like a straight up hard rock song or whatever. So there's a little bit of a different flavor on the album. I actually wish maybe it was a little earlier in the album, just again to mix up the sounds a little bit that I'm listening to. But this is one that I was surprised I actually ended up enjoying as much as I did.
Yeah, to what you also said, like when I saw the title, I'm like, I'm not sure if I even know this song. And then when I heard the chorus, I'm like, yeah, I kind of know the song, but it wasn't something I was really ever intimate with, familiar with. I didn't do what you did, and that's interesting. I probably should have just gone back and listened to the original. What I was trying not to do was kind of like going A and B, and was just like listen to the record, like, and knowing the songs. But certainly this was one I wasn't really familiar with. Like what you also said about the whole breakdown part, I thought that was great also. Yeah. And after this, I will go back and listen to the original. I know the sound of Paul Revere of the Raiders.
Right. Okay.
So that's why I thought it was a cool choice because, it's so easy to pull from like the Creams and the Zeppelins and the Stones. And, it's just, those are like obvious choices or obvious artists to pick. But then when you do like, a song by the Paul Revere and the Raiders, I think that's like taking, rolling the dice a little bit, but it's cool that Ace had the mindset to say, let me pick something that, that maybe we didn't even know he was influenced by. But who knew that maybe he was even maybe he loved all their records. You know,
Right.
who knows?
Right. Yeah.
That would be one of the things I would ask him. Like if I look at this whole track list, the first thing I would say to him is, "Hey, Ace, what made you choose the Paul Revere and the Raiders?" You know,
Right. Right.
I wasn't going to ask him like, "Why'd you choose Led Zeppelin?" Or "Why'd you?"
Right.
I know that it's easy, you know.
Exactly.
So,
I agree.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what part of what made this a nice surprise for me is it's not a song like you said that I expected, and I like what he did with it a lot. So good song on this one as we get close to closing out the album here. So the last, I'll say, true cover, because then there's the bonus track, right? But the last true cover on this was "We Got to Get Out of This Place" by the Animals. I'll just say this: it's another song much like Lola. I've known the song for decades. Even the original just never grabbed me for whatever reason. So this is when I saw he was doing this, I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't really love this song. So I came in with that bias, and I left with the same bias. I don't love this song for whatever reason. It just never grabbed me. But so I'll let you do some talking on this because I have that bias openly. I'll admit that.
Yeah. Again, not a huge Animals fan. You know, I think Eric Burdon was a tremendous vocalist. Definitely had a unique sound. Definitely one of the guys in the late '60s that kind of again pushed that sound forward. I kind of feel the same as you. I thought it was a good choice in the sense, again, it wasn't a Zeppelin or Hendrix or that thing again. But I thought maybe there could have been better choices. I didn't have a problem with his version of it, the vocals and stuff like that. I think sometimes when Ace is picking some of these songs, he's saying, okay, I know where my range is vocally. Like what matches up well as a vocalist where it's not going too crazy out of range. You know what I mean? Again, what we said earlier, picking a song like Humble Pie, but then deciding, okay, I got to get Robin Zander. I think I read in one of the quotes that he said, I wanted to do a Humble Pie song, but I can't sing like Steve Marriott. So, again, probably one of my least favorite tracks on it, but I'd say it's average the way I feel about it.
Right. Fair enough. So then that brings us to the final track, the bonus track. And just like Ace did on... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Is this bonus is it just bonus in general, or certain versions are getting it? Something like is the vinyl getting this?
From what I can gather, it's just a bonus. Like, hey, here's an extra track for you. From what I can gather, but I could be wrong with that.
So it's the bonus.
Right.
Track,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Pretty much.
Really, a bonus track. It's the 12th song of their album.
Right. Exactly. That's from everything I can gather. I haven't seen a single release.
I could picture the scene. Ace, yeah. We want you to record a Kiss song that you love. Do I really have to do that? All right, you twisted my arm. Let's make it just a bonus track,
Well, from what I can gather, and other fans that are out there that have followed the news on this album more closely, maybe could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the album was basically done, and then they decided, well, let's do another Kiss cover like we did on Volume 1. And this song has the Ace Frehley band on it, so it gave him a chance to record with the Ace Frehley band. And I think at like the last minute, it might have been 6 months ago, but at the last minute, they decided to record She and add it to the album. And I think that's why they call it bonus track. Okay. Right,
because this was originally supposed to be released in January, February of this year, I think it was.
Something like that, I think. I'm not even positive, to be honest with you.
I think this might have been... Because I know Record Store Day was supposed to be in April, and I remember Ace definitely had a record that was coming out.
Yeah, but I think that was Trouble Walking. Trouble Walking was coming out.
Oh, that's right. That was Trouble Walking. I just know that this was supposed to be released earlier in the year.
Right.
And it was done last year. I know that. And because of the whole pandemic, it got delayed. But
right. So I think hence the bonus track. So he decides to cover She, which to me is an interesting choice because technically speaking, if we want to get real technical here, that was a Wicked Lester song.
Right.
That Kiss covered. So really, Ace is covering a Kiss song that was a cover of a Wicked Lester song, right? Which he wasn't initially involved in. So I just thought that was an interesting choice that he would choose that song. Now we know that the song goes back to the earliest days of Kiss when they were playing clubs in '73. They always played this song. So I could understand why he would have a connection to the song. I'll be honest, I'll go first. Yeah, I thought he did a great cover. I think his band did this great. It just didn't add anything to the original to me. It was pretty much spot on to the original. It sounded great, but if I'm going to listen to She, I'm putting on Dress to Kill. It's just, I don't know, how else to say that. There was nothing that was bad about this, and I know that sounds like I'm coming from a negative point of view. It was actually really good, but it just didn't add anything to me. I'm going to go back to Dress to Kill, or I'm going to go back to Kiss Alive and listen to those versions. I was hoping there was something additional, and at the end of the song, they did that whole like guitar solo thing, like the dan 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 dan. But all right, whatever. And then they soloed out to the end of it. That was just my take. I thought it was a perfect cover, but almost too perfect because it didn't add anything new to me.
Yeah. Again, so what I said earlier on, and I'll comment on this version. It would have been cool, like hearing she like as an acoustic thing or something.
As you started talking, I'm like, yeah, that would be cool.
Right?
That would be cool. Yes.
The thing that you said about it being identical to the original, actually, from what I got out of it was there's an additional harmony that was put in.
Okay.
That if anybody ever hears the Wicked Lester version of it, that I'm almost positive that they said, we're going to do the Kiss version, but we're also going to take the Wicked Lester version because there's a vocal harmony that's in there.
Okay.
This is because the Ace Frehley band was involved in this.
I'm sure.
And it's definitely in there that's not in the Kiss version.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
no,
for those people who have access, and maybe this is on YouTube, if you look up like Wicked Lester She, and it's got like all kinds of flutes and stuff like that. It's classic. I mean, I love it. I don't know. But anyways.
Now that would have been a good version to cover. The flute version.
Flute version. Just flute.
Flute and vocal. That's right.
Ace Frehley, she, feet, flute.
But yeah, so so you're like you're saying, there may be a slightly different harmony, but just for my ears,
harmony they put in there that was from the Wicked Lester version,
right?
Which as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting,
right?
But to your point, I love the Dress to Kill record. I love that version. I love the sound of that record. I've said that before, and I don't have any reason why I would put this one on over that ever. You know?
Right.
Even
and that's nothing against this one.
I mean, live version. Sorry.
Right. I thought this version was great, but it just didn't add anything. And for me personally, I would have rather see them cover an Ace written song. No, go ahead. You were going to say something?
Yeah. Again, I love Matt Starr, but there's something that Peter Criss does on the drums, where it's that Peter Criss thing, where he's playing the snare, and he's got that little these little ghost notes,
right?
And again, this is more like the ba 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 ba. It's just that again that kind of problem I have with the record, with that sounding too, and I just love everyone would say about like Peter Criss's swing, the little swagger he had. I felt that was kind of lost in the track.
Fair enough. And I was going to say, I just wish if Ace was going to cover another Kiss tune, that he would have either re-recorded one of his songs, maybe like a Strange Ways, a Getaway, or something that he wrote that he didn't originally sing, or like he did on the last album where he covered a song from Creatures of the Night and was like, hey, this is what Kiss would have sounded like on this album if I was on it. Imagine if he covered, I don't know, like, I know he never would do this, but imagine if he covered like Crazy Nights. Hey, if I was in Kiss in 87, this is what Kiss would have sounded like. I just think that would have been far more interesting. As great of a recording as this is, it just was like, okay, it's she. Yeah, Anthrax did a great version of it. Ace did a great version of it.
I was just going to say.
Right.
Like we kind of heard this. It's like, the problem with she is it's an obvious choice. Yeah.
Right.
It would have been cool to pick like maybe a more challenging Paul Stanley song vocal, but just do it Ace-ify it. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
Imagine he did like Sure Know Something.
Right, exactly. Right. Who would expect him to do that? Exactly. So that's my only criticism of this is it sounded great. It was a fun way to close out the album, but it just didn't add anything new for the most. It didn't really do that for me. It didn't add anything new to this song.
Yeah.
So that gets us through the album. I think there was both high and low points for both of us on this, right? Especially those first couple of songs. I think we both really loved those first couple of tunes. If there was one artist that he didn't cover a song from that you wish he had, right? I know I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't prep you with this beforehand, right? There's one artist that comes to mind for me. I'm surprised he didn't cover this band on this album. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you?
Well, why don't you tell me what yours is while I'm still thinking?
Okay, so to me,
a little time here.
Yeah, that's fair enough because, like I said, I didn't prep you for this. So to me, I'm shocked that he didn't do a Who song.
Mm.
You know, to me, that would have been fun to hear him do a Who song. Off the top of my head, I don't recall if there was a song from Origins Volume 1 that was The Who. But I probably would have enjoyed that a little bit. Maybe take out the Cream song, Politician, right? He did a Cream song on the last album. It would have been nice to me to hear a Who song. That's just my personal preference. You know,
Yeah.
Ace could cover whoever the hell he damn well wants. He's earned that right, obviously. But that's my thought.
Yeah. I guess off the top of my head, maybe not an artist per se, but something like, I just think, again, you know, you're doing like 12 songs on a record. They're all in this like classic rock. Every one of them is in the classic rock, hard rock song genre. Like, imagine you do something like from like the 80s, like something by the Cars, or something by like even like a Prince tune or something, and made it your own. Again, just do something where, you know, he's not Prince, you know, he doesn't voice it, but take a tune like, I mean, maybe I'm throwing this out there. It's like a Roll Your Eyes, like a When Doves Cry, or whatever. I don't care what it is, but something where, again, you're doing your own arrangement, you know, and like kind of just make it interesting, and to say, I think to what you said, The Who is again maybe too obvious of a choice to maybe it falls in there. For me, I would love to hear something where it challenges them a bit, but maybe he just hates that whole generation or genre of music, but. You know, there are just certain artists of that era, and I named a couple, and I could probably name a bunch more that I just think would have been cool, you know, to take something. And look, he put out records during the 80s, you know, so it's not like, well, he didn't put anything out during that time, but they were of a certain sound and a certain genre. But I just think, you know, doing something kind of really off the cuff would have been cool.
So I love the idea, actually. To me, it's exciting. And then I think of Motley Crue doing Like a Virgin, and I say, oh, God, no. I don't know if you ever...
That doesn't mean, you know, the idea is not good when people make bad choices. You know what I mean? So
fair point. Fair point. Yeah.
They might have maybe picked another Madonna song that would have been better. It's,
Agreed.
You know.
Agreed. But that as you're saying that...
the thing I give credit to Motley Crue, you know, they tried something different. They took the challenge. It doesn't sound anything like the original.
Agreed.
So kudos to them for that. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
If there's one thing you can say positive about it, you may not like it, but at least they didn't say, you know, we're going to do it. We're going to try to have, you know, like the bass thing, you know, and just thinking about that. But I know I would love to hear something be a little bit more like off the cuff and something that we would never expect.
Fair enough.
Ace, if you're listening, because there is going to be a volume 3. I'm assuming, you know.
You know what?
These records.
Yeah, I've heard him just recently mention, hey, you know, if the record company wants me to do a volume 3, and he was talking about whatever song that he would consider it. I don't even remember what song it was. So, yeah, there might be a volume 3. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, I think the last one, didn't they say it hit Billboard, whatever the Billboard charts are these days, it hit like number 23 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah, I think it did well. And, you know, he puts out the 97,000 different vinyl releases, which helps as well. And, you know, with this one, there's already like 6 or 7 or 8 different vinyl versions of it. So, you know, I'm guessing that the record company would be open to doing a volume 3, and, you know, he might be as well. But I hope before that happens, we get an album or 2 of new material from Ace, because that's my preference.
Yeah.
But saying that, you know, I'll close this where I began. This one, to me, is far better than Spaceman and far better than Origins Volume 1. There's still some points of this that I didn't love, but there was many more that actually surprised me that I did enjoy compared to the last Covers album. So, you know, if you liked Volume 1, you're going to love this one. If you weren't sure about Volume 1, or if you didn't like Spaceman, I personally think you're going to like this better than those last 2 albums, and I would encourage people to pick it up because it's better than his last couple of releases, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with you on the production. So that'll be very interesting when people watch this once the album's released. Let us know if you hear what Vincent's talking about, or if you think he's a little nuts on this one. I can guarantee anybody watching this, it does not sound like Monster. Don't get scared. It doesn't have that brick wall sound. Even a novice ears like myself could hear that Monster was brick walled. This doesn't sound like that, but I'll be curious to hear what people do say about the production.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And anything else you wanted to...
I'm not going to combat you on that one.
No, well, look, I'm not denying that you're right. I'm sure you are. You've produced your music, other people's music. You know what you're talking about. I don't hear it. I don't hear it at all. So I'm curious if the average person does.
and I said that up front. Most people probably not going to hear it. You know,
Right.
the average listener,
Yeah.
you know, is going to be fine with it. But as I said, do yourself a favor. Put this on. Listen to a couple of tracks, then go back and listen to Rock and Roll Over.
Yep.
And Love Gun, and listen to the production. And I get the feeling that people will understand what I'm talking about. They may still not care.
Right.
They'll understand what I'm talking about.
I think that's fair enough. Anything else on the album that you wanted to bring up before we wrap this up?
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this. This is what I'll close on. I think the album cover artwork on this album is also far superior to the last album. I love what he did. He's got like little pictures of himself from all different areas that, you know, you can tell it's him. Whoever did this album cover for him, I don't know off the top of my head, to me did a great job. I like it. I've seen some people online criticizing it. I don't get why. I think it's a great. I love it. I think it's a great album cover. It's got Madison Square Garden in there as well. We know he's come from New York. I think he did a great job with the album cover. I love it.
And the lightning bolt logo in the sky like Batman.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's a Batman reference again. You see that?
Not done by accident, my friend.
That's right. There you go.
Right up here.
There you go. So, alrighty. That's our review of Ace Frehley's Origins Volume 2. Leave your comments. I'll definitely be curious to see when people get the album, what they think of it, and which songs are your favorite. It's coming out in a couple of weeks, and I think that's a wrap for this episode, buddy.
And it's a review, and we're telling you to go out and buy it.
Absolutely.
Definitely say go out and buy the record.
100%. I think, you know, it's a good addition to the Ace Frehley collection, and I think, like I said a few times now, I think it's better than his last couple of albums. So is it perfect? No, it's not. You know, I don't think any Kiss related product at this point is going to be perfect, as much as I love Monster. But that's a whole nother issue, another whole conversation for another day. But pick it up, buy it. I think Ace fans are going to be happy with it overall, and I think that's it. That's a wrap.
Okay.
All righty. Until next time. Thanks everybody for watching. Talk to you guys soon.
Take care.
Thanks, buddy. Alrighty, there you have it. Our review of Ace Frehley's new album, Origins, Volume 2. As we said, you're definitely going to want to pick that up when it comes out. I think you guys will be really happy with it, especially compared to Ace's latest albums. Again, like we said at the top of this, everybody's opinions are just that, their opinions. And certainly we welcome and look forward to hearing what you have to say about this album. I'd like to take a moment and thank E1 for sending us an advanced copy of the album in order to do this review. Thanks a lot. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button below. If you're listening to one of my podcasts, subscribe over there as well. Also, head on over to Facebook and follow my page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn, where each and every day we talk about all the rock and roll music that you love. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time.